The end of a marriage rarely arrives without warning. What arrives without warning is the paperwork, the conversation, the moment where one person finally says out loud what has been true internally for much longer than either of them acknowledged. By the time divorce becomes a word in the room, the actual ending has already been in progress, quietly, methodically, in ways that were visible if either person had been willing to look at them directly rather than through the softening lens of hope or habit or the sheer inertia of a shared life. Most men who go through divorce report the same thing afterward. Not that they were blindsided by the event itself, but that they were blindsided by how long it had been building. That looking back, the signs were present and legible and consistent, and they had interpreted each one through the most comfortable available framework rather than the most accurate one. That the marriage didn't end when the divorce was filed. It ended much earlier, in a series of moments they had decided not to examine too closely. These are the 7 signs that deserve direct examination before that decision becomes irreversible. The first sign is the disappearance of repair attempts after conflict. Every relationship has a pattern around how conflict gets closed. The gesture, the tone shift, the specific behavior that signals to both people that the difficult moment is passing and the connection is being restored. Early in a relationship, these repair attempts are instinctive and frequent. They reflect the investment both people have in the connection being okay. When one person stops making them, when arguments end in silence rather than resolution, when the difficult moment passes not because it was addressed, but because time moved past it, something structural has changed. The investment that motivated repair has shifted. And a relationship without active repair is a relationship where damage accumulates without maintenance, which is a trajectory with a predictable endpoint. The second sign is that future conversations have quietly stopped including him. Plans get made, decisions get considered. The architecture of what comes next gets discussed, with friends, with family, sometimes even in the background of his own presence, and the version of the future being constructed doesn't assume his participation in it. Not explicitly, not with announcement, but the texture of how she talks about what's ahead no longer organizes itself around the shared structure of a life built together. He starts to notice that her future is being imagined in the singular, while the present is still technically plural. That observation, taken seriously, tells him something about the internal timeline she's operating on, and how far ahead of the present moment that timeline has already traveled. The third sign is the strategic deployment of indifference. Not the natural ebb of emotional intensity that every long relationship experiences, that's real and normal and not worth alarming over. This is something more specific, the selective absence of reaction in situations where reaction would previously have been present. He says something that would once have mattered to her, positively or negatively, and it lands in a flat space where response used to live. He makes an effort that would once have been received and acknowledged, and it passes without registration. The indifference isn't consistent. It appears specifically in the channels where emotional investment used to flow most visibly. And that selectivity is the tell. Genuine emotional depletion affects everything. Strategic withdrawal is precise. It targets the specific frequencies of connection, while leaving the functional surface of the relationship intact enough to avoid immediate confrontation. The fourth sign is the sudden and sustained investment in personal reinvention that excludes him. This one is easy to misread because its surface is positive. She's taking better care of herself, developing new interests, becoming more socially active, building a version of her life that has more visible energy and direction than the shared one has had recently. And those things individually are not evidence of anything concerning. People grow. Growth is healthy, but there is a specific quality to reinvention that is preparatory rather than organic. where the changes being made are precisely the changes that would position her better for a life structured differently than the current one. New friendships that don't include him. Financial independence that is being quietly built rather than openly discussed. A version of herself being constructed that owes nothing to the identity the marriage created. That reinvention, watched over time, has a direction, and the direction is legible if he's willing to read it. The fifth sign is that physical intimacy has become entirely transactional or has disappeared without acknowledged cause. This sign gets discussed so frequently in the context of relationship advice that it risks losing its actual signal value. But stripped of the cliché, it points to something real. Physical intimacy in a marriage is not just a feature of the relationship, it's a language. It communicates things that the verbal register of the relationship sometimes obscures or contradicts. When that language goes silent, not through a discussed external factor like stress or health or a season both people acknowledge, but through a gradual withdrawal that has no named cause and produces no honest conversation, it is communicating something that the rest of the relationship surface is not yet saying out loud. The body in these situations tends to be more honest than the words. The sixth sign is the presence of a new and carefully maintained private sphere. Some privacy is healthy in any relationship. People are entitled to internal space, individual friendships, experiences that belong to them rather than to the shared structure of the marriage. This sign is not about that. It's about the specific emergence of privacy where it previously didn't exist, the phone that is now always face down, the conversations that stop when he enters the room, the explanations for time and whereabouts that have become either more detailed in a way that feels constructed or more vague in a way that forecloses further questioning. The privatization of space in a marriage isn't always about another person. Sometimes it's simply about the construction of an interior life that has separated from the shared one. But whether the cause is another relationship or simply the internal departure from the marriage, the behavioral signature is the same. And the behavioral signature deserves honest engagement rather than the careful non-examination that conflict avoidance produces. The seventh sign is the most difficult to name because it lives entirely in the qualitative texture of daily interaction rather than in any specific behavior. It is the feeling, consistent, low-grade, resistant to being argued away, that he is being tolerated rather than wanted, that his presence in the shared space is being managed rather than received, that the warmth available to him has a ceiling that didn't used to be there, and that below the functional surface of the relationship, something has already reorganized itself around a conclusion that hasn't been spoken yet. This sign is easy to dismiss as insecurity or projection, or the distorted perception of a man who is anxious about the relationship and therefore reading threat into neutrality. But there is a difference between anxiety-driven misreading and accurate perception that a man has been conditioned to distrust. The man who has been feeling this consistently, who has checked it against the other signs and found corroboration, who has asked himself honestly whether he would see this differently if he were less afraid of what the honest answer implies. That man is not projecting. He is reading a situation that is asking to be read. None of these signs constitute proof of an inevitable outcome. Relationships have survived all of them. Marriages have been rebuilt from configurations far more deteriorated than any of these signs individually suggest. But survival required that both people were willing to look directly at what was present rather than maintaining the comfortable fiction that the surface was the whole story. The man who sees these signs and examines them honestly, not with panic, not with accusation, but with the grounded willingness to know what he's actually living inside, is the only man positioned to respond to them in a way that gives the marriage a real chance, or, if the marriage cannot be saved, To arrive at that conclusion with the dignity of someone who saw clearly and chose deliberately, rather than someone who was caught off guard by what had been true for a long time before it was finally said out loud.